respondent of the specific section of the Code of Ethics referenced in said count. If you vote to find a violation, you will also need to vote as to whether to impose a civil penalty, and if so, the amount of said penalty. If you do not find a violation, that count will be dismissed with prejudice. Commission will need separate motions and votes as to each count. For the commission to find a violation, the majority of the commissioners present at the hearing must so vote.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for her? Great. Okay, before we begin, Ms. DeRezzo, I think are we having a motion to consolidate?
Yes, we have two complaints before the commission today, complaint number 2017-11 and 2018-5. And it's my understanding there is no objection from my brother to consolidating these matters for a single adjudicated hearing today.
No objection.
Okay. So is there a motion to consolidate?
So move.
Or second? Okay, roll call vote. Commissioner Salk?
Aye.
Commissioner Murphy?
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett?
Aye.
Commissioner Anton?
Aye.
Commissioner Palumbo?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Great. Okay, according to our procedures, I must begin this adjudication reading aloud each of the findings of probable cause and ask the respondent to either admit or deny each finding. So the first is from the Rhode Island Ethics Commission on September 11, 2018, that there exists probable cause to believe that by recommending that the East Greenwich Town Council approve the appointment of her business associate, Linda Dykeman, as the Consolidated Town Finance Director and appointing her to said position, the respondent violated Rhode Island General Laws 3614, 5A and D. Can you tell me if this is the respondent admits or denies this?
The respondent denies that allegation and finding.
Thank you. Well, the next is that there exists probable cause to believe that by supervising and directing her business associate, Linda Dykeman, in her employment as the Consolidated Town Finance Director, the respondent violated Rhode Island General Laws 3614, 5A. And can you tell me if the respondent denies or admits that violation?
The respondent denies that allegation and finding.
Great, thank you. Next, that there exists probable cause to believe that the respondent failed to timely file a 2016 financial statement in violation of Rhode Island General Laws 3614, 16. Does the respondent admit or deny?
The respondent denies that allegation and finding.
Okay. And that there exists probable cause to believe that the respondent failed to timely disclose on her 2016 financial statement that her company, Management Resource Partners, Inc., did business with the Central Coventry Fire District in violation of Rhode Island General Laws 3614, 16. Then the same question, can you tell me if the respondent admits or denies that finding?
The respondent denies that allegation and finding.
Thank you. So do we hear from Ms. DeRezzo?
Yes, at this juncture, we would be having our opening statements. Good morning, Ms. Corrigan, Attorney Kirby, and members of the commission and legal counsel Lee Simone. Here, the Ethics Commission has found probable cause to believe that the respondent, in her capacity as the East Greenwich Town Manager, the highest appointed official in town government, violated sections 3614, 5A and D of the Rhode Island Code of Ethics by appointing her business associate, Linda Dykeman, to a significant position in town government as the newly consolidated Town Finance Director in June of 2017. The respondent's supervision of her business associate in that new position, while maintaining an ongoing business association with Ms. Dykeman in two private entities, also ran afoul of Section 5A's prohibitions. Through the stipulated facts and exhibits and the testimony and evidence that will be presented at hearing today, the prosecution will show that the respondent and Ms. Dykeman were at all relevant times business associates under the Code of Ethics through both Management Resource Partners, Inc., MRP, the respondent's company, through which both Ms. Dykeman and Ms. Corrigan had been performing consultant services for the town of East Greenwich under Management Resource Partners, Inc. consulting division known as Providence Analytics. Additionally, the respondent and Ms. Dykeman co-founded a Rhode Island limited liability corporation known as Lowe's and Associates in March of that calendar year. It will be shown that at the very first town council meeting after the respondent's appointment as the acting town manager, the respondent asked the town council to approve her one-town restructuring plan, which included 1, the elimination of the existing town finance director position, 2, the creation of a new consolidated finance director position to be shared between the school department and the town, and 3, the appointment of her business associate, Linda Dykeman, to that newly created position. The evidence will demonstrate that the respondent not only exercised her authority under the town charter and appointed her business associate to the newly created position, but also that the respondent supervised her business associate, who served at her discretion as town manager for a period of 9 months, during which time the respondent's company, MRP, issued weekly payments to Ms. Dykeman in her private capacity. At the outset of this proceeding, the prosecution would note that it has stipulated that Linda Dykeman did in fact possess the requisite professional certifications for the position to which she was hired. That is not dispute, and I anticipate you will be hearing a lot about Ms. Dykeman's qualifications today. Please note that the prosecution is not suggesting that Ms. Dykeman was not qualified for the position. The focus, and the commission's focus, should be on the respondent's conduct. You will also learn today how town council leadership in East Greenwich became very impressed with Ms. Dykeman and her financial skills while she was a consultant with Providence Analytics, and in fact wanted her to become the new finance director for the town. Again, that is not what is in dispute here. This isn't about what the town council wanted. This is about what authority the respondent as acting town manager and then full town manager had under the East Greenwich Town Charter and how she exercised it. She was empowered to make that appointment. She exercised that authority and then exercised discretionary authority in her continued supervision over her business associate. And throughout this proceeding, I would direct the commission's focus again on the actions undertaken by the respondent as town manager, which at the conclusion of today's proceeding will have been demonstrated to have impacted her business associate in violation of the Code of Ethics. Now, there are 2 financial disclosure findings of probable cause at issue today as well, and they too emanate from the respondent's position as town manager in East Greenwich and her private company, MRP. It will be shown that the respondent did not timely file her 2016 financial disclosure statement with the commission, nor that she disclosed her position, nor that she disclosed income received from MRP's income from the Central Coventry Fire District in excess of $250 on that 2016 financial statement, which was required by Rhode Island General Laws 3614-16. And at the conclusion of the proceedings today, I will ask you to find that the respondent has committed a knowing and willful violation of sections 5A and D, as well as the financial disclosure mandate. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Teresa. Mr. Kirby?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Can you hear me well enough?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. The prosecution this morning has indicated to you that the town manager, Gail Corrigan, at the time of her appointment, exercised discretion and or supervision over Linda Dykeman, and then therefore was in violation of the Code of Ethics. It indicating that it was a knowing and willful. However, what I would suggest to this commission this morning is to look at the stipulated facts and follow the timeline and the history of this particular engagement of Ms. Corrigan and Linda Dykeman, that this entire scenario was in fact done openly with public knowledge of their business relationship, that Gail Corrigan was placed in an untenable position, that under the charter, and you have a copy of the charter in front of you, that the town council is the body that hires on the nomination by the town manager for certain positions. Gail Corrigan was placed as the acting town manager after Linda Dykeman was hired by the school committee to engage in the activity of being the business finance director. At the direction of the town council president, Sue Cianchi, and I believe you will hear testimony of that because the prior records indicated that Sue Cianchi was insisted that Gail Corrigan nominate Linda Dykeman for the position of the consolidated finance director. Now, you'll also hear and have heard from the prosecution that Gail Corrigan is the one who presented this consolidated finance position after she became the acting town manager. While that may be true, the evidence also shows, and it's in the stipulated facts, that had been initiated years prior and had never been acted upon. So I would ask the commission to take a look at the history of what had occurred and had forced the respondent into an untenable position of having to hire, or not to hire, but being accused of hiring her business associate, when in fact they both appeared before the council in March of 2017, presented a remedy and an analysis of the finances of the school department. It is at that time that the school department engaged the town council engaged Providence Analytics, which was both Gail Corrigan and Linda Dykeman, to do an analysis of the school department finances. Through doing that work and doing it well, the town council then asked Providence Analytics to engage in an analysis of the town finances. During that same time frame, the school committee and the school superintendent asked Linda Dykeman to serve as their business agent, and she took over that position sometime in April of 2017, fulfilling work that was needed for the school committee. Thereafter, Gail Corrigan is engaged as the acting town manager because they lost their town manager in June of 2017. Gail Corrigan took on that position, and it's at that time the town council insisted that they bring over Linda Dykeman. Everyone knew from the beginning that they had a business relationship. There was no knowing or willful intent by Gail Corrigan under the statute and under your rules and regulations to violate the code of ethics to give her business associate a job when in fact they had been before the council as a
His argument has just been that the Yankee.
Excuse me? Was there an objection?
No,
Oh,
I think there's just a rogue open mic. So sorry about that. Please
Oh,
continue, Mr.
that's
Curry.
fine. But I would just emphasize to the commission to concentrate on the knowing and willful aspect, that it would be impossible for a public official to knowingly and willfully violate the code of ethics in the manner in which these events transpired. This is a town manager who was told to hire the same person that she had made a presentation to both the town council and the town school committee. And under the charter, it is the council that does the hiring, not the town manager. And I believe that the history of this case will show, and there are documents in the record that we will be referring to, that this in fact goes back to the original engagement and analysis of both the school committee finances and the town council finances. Gail Corrigan and Linda Dykeman's analysis of the town finances evidenced that there was a firefighter CBA in place, a collective bargaining agreement in place that caused great financial distress to the town of the town of East Greenwich. And as such, during that investigation, certain decisions were made with consultation from the council and at the direction of the council, which led to outside litigation, which in turn led to the filing of a lawsuit against the town the town, Gail Corrigan and members of the council. Those records are in the Superior Court records are in your tabs. They'll show evidence that there was testimony in the Superior Court that Gail Corrigan and Linda Dykeman were business associates before, and that Linda Dykeman was insisted that she would be hired by the town council. I think that the evidence when we finish this presentation will show that my client did not knowingly and willfully violate the code of ethics when she was placed in this position to nominate Linda Dykeman before the council to be appointed as the finance director. As to the allegation on the financial disclosure forms, Gail Corrigan will be testifying as to the history and the timing of the forms as being sent to her, how she effectuated consultation with legal counsel, executing those agreements, those filings, sending them in, and the dated notarization of them. And she believed that she was in full compliance with the financial disclosure requirements at that time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. So, does the prosecution proceed?
Yes, I'm prepared to start my case in chief, and I apologize for the technical hiccup. For a moment, the prosecutor's computer screen went completely black, but we've got me back online. So thank you for bearing with me.
Mr. Reza, are you going to ask that the stipulation be admitted into evidence along with the exhibits for both the prosecution and the respondent at this time?
Yes, I am. And with the commission's permission, I'll read the stipulation into the record. Now come the people of the state of Rhode Island, represented by the executive director's designee and the respondent, Gail A. Corrigan, by and through her attorney, and hereby agree to consolidate the above captioned complaint matters and stipulate to the following facts and admission of the following documents as full exhibits with respect to the Rhode Island Ethics Commission's adjudication of the above referenced complaints pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 361413 and Rhode Island Code of Regulations 520 RICR 0000 3.22, hearing to determine violation of the Code of Ethics. 10:15. Facts.
Excuse me, Mr. Kirby, would you like to mute your microphone?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Facts. 1. Since 2011, the respondent has been the owner and sole officer of Management Resource Partners, Inc., MRP, a domestic profit corporation located in Warwick, Rhode Island, which provides business consulting, management, and professional temporary staffing services. 2. From January 11, 2017 to February 10, 2020, MRP utilized the DBA name Providence Analytics, Inc., Providence Analytics, in the operation of its consulting division, which offered business, nonprofit, and governmental consulting services. 3. On March 27, 2017, the East Greenwich Town Council voted unanimously at a public meeting to hire Providence Analytics to perform a review and analysis of the East Greenwich School Department's finances and aid addressing the school department's budget and projected deficit. 4. Pursuant to its contract with the town of East Greenwich Town, Providence Analytics was to provide accounting and finance technical support, including organizational and operational review of the accounting, finance, and administrative functions then in place at the school department for the town council. Gail Wilcox, a certified school business manager, and the East Greenwich School Department certified school business manager, had given her notice to leave her position. In addition, the school department was under review by the Auditor General of Rhode Island, Auditor General, as required by law, as the school department had projected a year-end deficit. The respondent and Linda S. Dykeman, a certified school business manager, were specified as the consultants to perform such services, each at an hourly rate of $150 with a cap of $5,000. The respondent and Town Council President Suzanne M. Cienki, Council President Cienki, executed said contract on March 27, 2017, following the unanimous vote at the public town council meeting to do so. 5. On April 4, 2017, the town subsequently issued a request for qualification, RFQ, seeking a consultants to assist in creating, facilitating, and analyzing a financial review of the school department's finances. Although the town had already hired Providence Analytics, the scope of work required was anticipated to exceed the threshold amount at which a public bidding process was required. 6. On April 24, 2017, the town council, at a public meeting, following the unanimous vote to do so, awarded the bid to Providence Analytics, the sole bidder, in an amount not to exceed $15,000. In its bid submission, Providence Analytics identified the respondent and Ms. Dykeman, a certified school business manager, as the consultants perform services for the town. 7. On May 15, 2017, at a joint meeting of the Town Council and East Greenwich School Committee, the respondent and Ms. Dykeman gave a presentation on behalf of Providence Analytics regarding the independent budget analysis that they had prepared regarding school department finances. As one of multiple recommendations to address the emerging deficit, they recommended further consolidation of administrative and operational services within the town. 8. Providence Analytics submitted an invoice to Council President Cienki dated May 15, 2017, in the amount of $15,000 for its review of the school department finances, associated analysis, and presentations. 9. On May 22, 2017, at a public meeting, the Town Council unanimously voted to expand the scope of Providence Analytics' work to include a review and analysis of the town's finances for a report to the Town Council and the school committee, as well as to work with the Auditor General on creating the school department's corrective action plan as required by law, given the departure of Ms. Wilcox. 10. Prior to the conclusion of Providence Analytics consulting work for the town, at a public meeting, the school committee hired Ms. Dykeman as the school department's Director of Administration. Footnote 1, a Director of Administration is a school business manager with the additional duties of supervising human resources, IT, and physical plant. Per Rhode Island legislation, every school department must have a certified school business manager in its employ. And that was effective May 26, 2017. The position reported to the superintendent of schools. At the outset, Ms. Dykeman's at-will employment was part-time to average 10 hours weekly with annual compensation of $30,877 to be paid by the school department. 11. At the June 5th, 2017 joint public meeting of the Town Council and the School Committee, the respondent and Ms. Dykeman, as Providence Analytics, provided an independent review of the town FY 2018 proposed budget and the school department FY 2018 proposed budget. One of the multiple recommendations was the exploration of further opportunities for consolidation in the areas of finance, IT, human resources, purchasing, risk management, and benefits. A consolidation of these departments had been initiated years prior. However, the full implementation of the consolidation plan never took place. 12. Given the upcoming town and school joint meeting on June 6, 2017, with the Auditor General, and need to have a budget in place by June for the July 1st, 2017 start of fiscal year, the Town Council and School Committee directed the respondent and Ms. Dykeman, as Providence Analytics, to develop a corrective action plan, including an FY 2018 revised budget that level funded the school department and included consolidation of positions between the town and the schools. As part of the corrective action plan, based upon proposed consolidation of positions, certain school department administrative salaries would be paid by the town, allowing the school department to spend its allocated funding on students and a new director of curriculum position. On June 8, 2017, the respondent and Ms. Dykeman, as Providence Analytics, presented the revised FY 2018 budget in line with the corrective action plan as presented to the Auditor General at a public meeting to the Town Council. The Town Council publicly voted to adopt the budget as presented and issued a press release entitled EG Residents to Receive Tax Relief for First Time in 30 Years. 13. On June 9, 2017, Providence Analytics submitted another invoice to the town in the amount of $14,175 for its work on the corrective action plan, the 2018 town and school budgets, associated analysis, and meetings with the Auditor General, School Committee, and Town Council. 14. Following the departure of Town Manager Thomas E. Cole III, the Town Council appointed the respondent as the acting East Greenwich Town Manager at the June 19, 2017 Town Council meeting. The Town Council voted to remove acting from the respondent's town manager designation at the July 24, 2017 joint Town Council and School Committee meeting, and the respondent served in full capacity as town manager from said date to December 1st, 2018. At this meeting, the Town Council and School Committee discussed the consolidated Finance Director / Director of Administration position. 15. The town manager serves as the town's chief administrative officer and exercises the authority to appoint, suspend, or remove any officer, including department heads and employees of the town, except as otherwise provided by charter, law, or personnel ordinance. All such appointments, suspensions, and removals by the town manager are subject to the approval of a majority of the members of the Town Council. 16. At all times hereto relevant, the respondent was a municipal appointed official subject to the Rhode Island Code of Ethics in Government. 17. On June 26, 2017, the Town Council in executive session voted 3-1 to approve a reorganization plan in line with the corrective action plan and associated 2018 adopted budgets prepared by Providence Analytics. Said plan included, among other things, the following: creation of a consolidated finance director, director of administration position to be shared between the town and the school department. Footnote 2, the position required a certified school business manager certificate from the Rhode Island Department of Education. 18, the town has represented that it does not possess any audio or video recording of the Town Council's June 26, 2017 executive session. 19, the consolidated finance director, director of administration position was not advertised or posted by either the town or the school department, as there was no requirement to do so. 20. On July 1st, 2017, Ms. Dykeman began her employ in the newly created position of Consolidated Town Finance Director, Director of Administration. In her capacity as Town Finance Director, Ms. Dykeman reported to the respondent as Town Manager and to the Town Council. In her capacity as Business Manager for the school department, Ms. Dykeman reported to the Superintendent of Schools and to the School Committee. 21. On July 9th, 2017, the town of East Greenwich issued payment of $40,350 to Providence Analytics for its services. Of that total amount, $15,000 was for work on school department finances, $14,175 was for its work on the corrective action plan and 2018 town and school department budgets, and $11,175 was for town management services from June 19th through June 30 of 2017. 22. On July 11th, 2017, the respondent executed Ms. Dykeman's term sheet for employment as Director of Finance. Pursuant to same, Ms. Dykeman was an at-will employee who also served as town treasurer. At the time Ms. Dykeman began her employment as the Consolidated Town Finance Director, Director of Administration, she began to draft a job description for said position, as one did not exist, nor had the Town Council and School Committee entered a Memorandum of Agreement, MOA, with respect to the specifics of that shared town position. After a series of workshops between members of the Town Council, School Committee, and their respective attorneys, as well as several public joint meetings between the Town Council and the School Committee, the MOA was ultimately executed on March 29, 2018. 23. As town manager, the respondent shared administrative supervision over Ms. Dykeman in the performance of her duties as the town finance director, such as the approval of vacation. The superintendent of schools shared administrative supervision over Ms. Dykeman in the performance of her director of administration duties for the school department, such as the approval of vacation. 24. Ms. Dykeman served as the Consolidated Town Finance Director, Director of Administration from July 2017 to November 2018. 25. During 2017, Ms. Dykeman provided professional services to MRP, for which she received remuneration both as a consultant and an employee. 26. From March 15, 2017 through June 9, 2017, Ms. Dykeman performed consulting services for MRP. Ms. Dykeman received $10,000 in miscellaneous income from MRP during 2017. 27. From April 2017 through March 2018, Ms. Dykeman provided services to MRP as an employee. On June 21, 2017, MRP began making gross weekly retainer payments of $305.29 to Ms. Dykeman, the last of which was issued on April 4, 2018, related to independent audit work for the Central Coventry Fire District. In 2017, Ms. Dykeman received a total of $16,791.22 in W-2 wage compensation from MRP. 28. During Ms. Dykeman's employment as the Consolidated Town Finance Director, Director of Administration, the respondent and Ms. Dykeman, along with Karen Cooper, were members of Lozen Associates LLC, Lozen Associates, a Rhode Island limited liability corporation. 29. In March 2017, the respondent, Ms. Dykeman, and Karen Cooper co-founded Lozen Associates under its original name, EO People LLC. Lozen Associates operated as a consulting firm offering services to help small nonprofits meet the demands of fundraising, marketing, finance, accounting, and strategic planning. Lozen Associates was formed to provide pro bono services to the John Hope Settlement House. 30. During 2017, the respondent and Ms. Dykeman made capital contributions of $6,000 and $4,000, respectively, to Lozen Associates. Each suffered a loss of $1,063 during that same period. 31. From 2017 through February 14th of 2018, the respondent served as Lozen Associates registered agent. Thereafter, the respondent served as Lozen Associates registered agent from December 4th of 2018 through said entity's dissolution on July 24th of 2020. 32. In March 2016, the Central Coventry Fire District, CCFD, a municipal agency, is as that term is defined in Rhode Island General Laws, Section 36-14-282, contracted with MRP for the provision of its district manager services and other administrative services. 33. Pursuant to its March 19, 2016 engagement agreement, MRP assigned a district manager, specified by name as the respondent, to the CCFD for the provision of its services. Under the term of the agreement, all individuals assigned to the CCFD remained employees of MRP and were not CCFD employees. 34. During each of calendar years 2016 and 2017, MRP received in excess of $250 from the CCFD. 35. On January 2nd, 2018, the East Greenwich Town Clerk notified the Ethics Commission of the respondent's appointment as town manager. On January 9th, 2018, Commission staff forwarded a blank 2016 financial disclosure statement, 2016 statement, to the respondent. 36. On February 16th, 2018, the Commission received the respondent's 2016 statement 38 days after the mailing of same. The 2016 statement was signed and notarized on January 26, 2018, 17 days after the mailing of same. 37. On her 2016 statement, the respondent failed to disclose that MRP did business in excess of $250 with the CCFD. The respondent provided a response of NA to question number 12 on her 2016 statement. NA signified not applicable. 38. Subsequent to the filing of complaint number 2018-5 on April 9th, 2018, the respondent filed an amended 2016 statement with the Ethics Commission on May 18th, 2018, in which she disclosed that MRP provided contractual, managerial, and administrative functions/services in excess of $250 to the CCFD from March 2016 through December 31st, 2016. 39. On her 2017 statement, the respondent disclosed that MRP provided contractual, managerial, and administrative functions/services in excess of $250 to the CCFD January 1st, 2017 to December 31st, 2017. The prosecution's exhibits are listed as follows. 1. March 2017 agreement between Providence Analytics and the Town of East Greenwich. 2. April 2017 Town of East Greenwich request for qualification, including Providence Analytics bid submission. 3. East Greenwich Town Charter. 4. East Greenwich Town Council meeting minutes. A. June 5th, 2017. B. June 19th, 2017. C. June 26th, 2017. D. July 24th, 2017, including one town status report presented at meeting. E. November 20th, 2017. 5. Term sheet of employment for Gail Corrigan. 6. Term sheet of employment for Linda Dykeman. 7. Excerpted transcript of testimony of Gail Corrigan, September 21 and 22, 2017, in East Greenwich Firefighters Association versus Corrigan, Rhode Island, 2017, Westlaw, 5501547, 2017. 8. Gail Corrigan's 2016 financial statement, including instruction sheet and amendment thereto. 9. CCFD governance documents. A. Charter. B. Bylaws adopted October 4th, 2011. C. Revised bylaws adopted September 18th, 2017. 10. March 19th, 2016 engagement agreement between MRP and CCFD with addenda and amendments thereto. 11. Respondent Gail Corrigan's verified answer and amended verified answer. 12, March 2018 Memorandum of Agreement between the East Greenwich Town Council and East Greenwich School Committee. 13, Town of East Greenwich Draft Finance Director Job Description. And the prosecution has listed its witnesses as 1, Suzanne Cianchi, 2, Gail Corrigan, 3, Michelle Berg, and 4, Stephen T. Cross. The respondents' exhibits are as follows. A, Auditor General of Rhode Island Information for Municipalities and Associated Rhode Island General Law sections. B, Revised FY 2018 budget, revised salaries transferred to town net of curriculum director. C, PO People LLC engagement agreement with the John Hope Settlement House. D, Linda S. Dykeman School Business Manager Certificate number 66049 and renewal. E, Draft Finance Director Job Description by Linda S. Dykeman. And F, East Greenwich Town Council press release issued June 8th, 2017, entitled EG Residents to Receive Tax Relief for First Time in 30 Years. The respondents' witnesses are listed as 1, Gail Corrigan, 2, Suzanne M. Cianchi, and 3, Linda Dykeman. And the parties have reserved the right to present additional exhibits not enumerated herein at hearing, subject to any admissibility objections thereto. And at this time, Madam Chairperson, I would ask that the Commission admit Joint Exhibit J1 in full, along with all of the enumerated prosecution and respondents' exhibits at this time.
Is that a joint motion with Mr. Kirby, Mr. Rezzo?
Yes, it is.
No objection.
We need to vote on that motion?
Yes, we do. So
Yeah.
we need a motion to admit into evidence the joint stipulation marked J1, as well as, well, let's handle that one first.
Do I have a motion
So moved.
or a second? Right, Commissioner Anton seconded. Roll call vote, Commissioner Salk,
Aye.
Commissioner Murphy,
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett,
Aye.
Commissioner Anton. You're muted. Okay, she raised her hand. Aye. Commissioner Palumbo?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
And now we need a motion to admit into evidence the prosecution's exhibits numbered 1 through 13.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So move.
For a
Second.
second? Okay, roll call vote. Commissioner Salk,
Aye.
Commissioner Murphy,
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett,
Aye.
Commissioner Anton,
Aye.
Commissioner Palumbo,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye.
And finally, we need a motion to admit the respondents' exhibits marked A through F into evidence.
So moved. Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Commissioner Salk,
Aye.
Commissioner Murphy,
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett,
Aye.
Commissioner Anton,
Aye.
Commissioner Palumbo,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you.
Madam Chairperson, at this time, the prosecution calls Suzanne M. Cianchi to testify.
Is Ms. Cianchi here?
Might take a moment to get her, and I had been
Yeah.
informed that she was waiting by.
Yeah.
Good morning, Ms. Cianchi. Thank you for joining us in this virtual way.
I didn't even see myself. Good morning. I'm a little jealous, Counselor DeSimone. Are you at your home and do you have heat?
Yes, we do.
I do not.
Usually our street always goes out, and for some lucky reason it didn't this time, so.
Yeah. So sorry, I had to change
That's okay.
locations. So had to find heat.
Amen to that.
Thank you for being here this morning, Ms. Cianchi, under such adverse circumstances. Ms. Cianchi, You're going to be sworn in as by the stenographer at this time.
Okay. If you raise your right hand, please. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
State your name for the record.
Suzanne, Suzanne, Cienki, Cienki.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cienki. Ms. Cienki, you are a resident of the town of East Greenwich, is that correct?
Yes.
And how long have you resided there?
25 years.
And as an East Greenwich resident, have you served in public office in that town?
Yes.
In what capacities?
From 2004 to 2008, I was on the East Greenwich School Committee, and from 2014 to 2018 on the East Greenwich Town Council.
And did you serve as council president back in 2017?
From 2016 to 2018.
And in your private capacity, have you been employed as an attorney by profession?
Yes.
And as the town council president, you're familiar with the town charter?
Yes.
And under the town charter in East Greenwich, does the town manager serve as the chief administrative officer of the town?
Yes.
And does the town manager have the authority to appoint, suspend, or remove town officers and employees subject to the council's approval?
So the town manager recommends appointments, and the town council has the final say.
Is the position of finance director specifically addressed in the charter?
Yes.
And under the town charter, does the town council have the ability to appoint the finance director on its own?
They vote to approve any recommendation from the town manager.
Okay. And at this time, Madam Chairperson, I would ask for permission to share the screen with what has been submitted as prosecution's exhibit P3.
Okay. Okay. We all have this, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And I have prosecution's T3, which is the town charter, and I'm just going to direct your attention. It's a long document, so bear with me. We'll just scroll through. Okay, and I am going to call your attention, Ms. Cienki, to this provision, which I've annotated here, section 91. Could you please read that aloud?
There shall be Department of Finance amended 11/7/1978. There shall be a Department of Finance, the head of which shall be the Director of Finance, and within which department there should be a town treasurer, town collector, town assessor. The Director of Finance shall be appointed by the town manager with the approval of the town council. The Director of Finance may serve in the capacity of and as any one or more of the following positions: town treasurer, town collector, town assessor.
Okay, thank you very much. So the verbiage that's used in the charter is that the Director of Finance shall be appointed by the manager with the approval of the council. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I'm also, let me remove my annotation here. And I'm also going to call your attention to another section of the charter. We're going to go back to I'm just going to scroll to the section regarding C85. Regarding the town manager. And I would ask for you to read, where I will highlight. If you could read section C85 and section A, please.
Just section A?
Oh, the introductory portion as well through section A.
Sure. The town manager shall be the chief administrative officer of the town. With the consent of the town council, he or she may head one or more departments. He or she shall be responsible to the town council for the proper administration of all the affairs of the town, and to that end has the powers and shall be required to appoint. Keep going?
Yes.
Okay. Appoint, and when necessary for the good of the service, suspend or remove any officer, including department heads and employees of the town, except as otherwise provided by this charter or law or personnel ordinance. All appointments, suspensions, and removal of department heads and officers made by the town manager shall be subject to the approval of a majority of all members of the town council.
Okay, thank you. So the language that the charter uses is the word appoint, not the word recommend. Is that
Right.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I will stop sharing at this time. So under the charter, the appointment of the finance director requires an action by both the town manager and the town council. Is that correct?
Yes.
And can either act without the other to put a finance director in place?
No.
In spring of 2017, you recall that Providence Analytics conducted a review of both the town and schools' finances.
Yes.
And as part of that review, did Ms. Corrigan make any recommendations to the town council regarding the consolidation of services or positions between the town and the schools?
Yes.
And did that recommendation include the consolidation of finance positions between the town and the schools?
Yes.
And did that include consolidating the finance director position to be a shared position between the town and the schools?
Yes.
And what was the name given to this proposed consolidation concept?
One town.
And who came up with or coined that name, One Town?
So it was Providence Analytics that brought that, but it was something stewing around the town since 2004.
So there had been discussions previously about how to consolidate services. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Yes.
And Ms. Sienkies, during Providence Analytics work for the town of East Greenwich, did you become impressed with Ms. Dykeman's professional skills and financial acumen?
Yes.
And once the respondent became the acting town manager in June of 2017, did you tell Ms. Corrigan that you wanted Ms. Dykeman to be the new finance director?
Yes.
And did you instruct Ms. Corrigan to recommend to the council the approval of Ms. Dykeman as the new finance director?
Yes.
And under the charter, is the town manager free to bring anyone of his or her choosing to the council for approval as appointment as finance director?
Yes.
Does the charter limit the town manager's ability to recommend a candidate in any way for appointment?
No.
Did the respondent, Ms. Corrigan, have the ability to recommend or ask the council to approve the appointment of another candidate, someone other than Ms. Dykeman?
She certainly could have. I don't think she would have gotten the votes, though, to anybody else.
So to that end, you've been in town government for some time, and I know you've had experience on the school committee as well. What happens when a town manager or other public official brings forward a candidate for approval of appointment under the charter and the town council does not vote to approve that candidate? What happens?
that person is not hired. And it has happened on a couple of occasions. And quite frankly, it happened with Ms. Corrigan. She brought before a candidate and the town council did not approve that candidate. So you go back to the drawing board.
So Ms. Corrigan did in fact bring the appointment of Linda Dykeman to the council for its approval.
Yes,
And that was at the June 26th, 2017 town council meeting, is that correct?
yes.
And did the council vote at that meeting to approve Ms. Dykeman as the new finance director?
I believe so, yes.
And at that same meeting, did Ms. Corrigan ask the council to approve the one town consolidation plan?
Yes,
And Ms. Dykeman as the finance director was part of that one town consolidation plan, is that correct?
yes.
And approving that one town plan, did that also necessarily, strike that. Did that also include eliminating the existing town finance director position?
Yes,
And the person who held that position was terminated?
yes,
And,
eventually.
and the previous eliminated town finance position was replaced with a new consolidated finance director position as a result of that plan?
Yeah, it was a combined school committee and town council position. So the schools and the town shared the finance director.
And Linda Dykeman was the individual who was appointed to that new consolidated position. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Okay. And if Ms. Corrigan hadn't recommended or asked the council to approve the appointment of Ms. Dykeman, was there any mechanism for the council on its own to place Ms. Dykeman in the position of the new finance director?
No,
And at the time that Ms. Dykeman began serving in that new consolidated finance director position, had all the details of that shared position between the town and the schools been worked out?
it was a work in progress.
Had a job description been finalized yet?
If you dealt in government, it was a work in progress. It took a long time to figure it out. And sorry, based upon the conversations with Dennis Hoyle, who was the Auditor General, unless the schools bought into this new position, it wasn't going to work. So it was really important to get the schools to buy into it. There were 7 members of the school committee and a superintendent, 5 people on the town council. So it was important that we all work together. But prior to that, not having a memorandum of agreement, it was certainly a shared job between the schools and the town.
Okay, and was there contention between the school department and the town relative to the issue of who is the town finance director going to report to?
Sure, it was a vigorous debate about who was in charge. You know, the schools, their position is to educate the students in town, and the town really, they have a separate job, so there's always going to be a little bit of friction, but it's one town. So we were trying to do something revolutionary in a certain aspect to work on government efficiency, cost savings, and we thought that this was the best way to do it. But we knew that the schools had to be comfortable with whoever was the joint finance person, because they had more employees, they had a bigger budget. So it was really important that whoever was in charge of this had the buy-in from the school side.
And that consolidated finance director position, who did it report to?
So a lot of people, certainly the 7 members of the school board, the superintendent, the town council, and the town manager. So that person had a lot of bosses, a lot of people chiming in on what they should do.
And was one of the issues why it took so long to get to that final memorandum of agreement because they're of any concern as to whether the position would be a direct report just to the town manager or also a direct report to the superintendent? Was that an issue?
There were a lot of issues as to who the person was going to report to. There was several diagrams and memorandums of agreement going back and forth between the 2 governing bodies. There were dotted lines, there were straight lines, there were arrows. It took a long time to consolidate the plan.
And Ms. Cienki, what is the concept of dotted line reporting in terms of an organizational hierarchy?
That's a really good question. And I can't really answer that. You know, it's you either report to someone or you don't. The dotted line didn't make too much sense to me at all.
But would it be fair to say that the position in question was a direct report to the town manager?
And the school committee. I mean, there's no way that you could say that she didn't report to both bodies, because she did.
And when did that final memorandum of understanding get adopted, if you recall?
Probably the next year.
Would that have been March of 2018?
Yes.
And you executed that in your capacity as town council president, is that correct?
Yes, along with the school board president.
And I would ask the chairperson's permission to share what has been identified as the prosecution's exhibit 12, if I may, P12.
The MOA,
Yes.
is there an objection?
The stipulated exhibit that's in full.
Sorry,
Yes.
I was muted. Do I need to ask if there's an objection every time that there is a request for showing a piece of evidence or exhibit?
There's no objection from the respondent on that matter. I was muted.
Great. All right, please proceed.
Okay, thank you, Chair Quinn. Technical moment here. Okay, here we go. I'm calling your attention, Ms. Cienki, to prosecution's exhibit P12. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And is this the memorandum of agreement between the schools and the town relative to the consolidated town finance
Yes.
position? And does it bear your execution as town council president?
Yes.
And from the dates on this MOA, this took effect at the end of March 2018. Is that correct?
Yes.
And just calling your attention to a couple of paragraphs here. I would ask you to read this paragraph, if you would, please.
Sure. Whereas the consolidated plan presented by the council through its town manager calls for the consolidation of the current position of school department director of administration with the position of the town's finance director, with the combined position being a direct report to both the town manager and superintendent.
Thank you. So it was a direct report to both the town manager, which was Gail Corrigan at the time, is that correct?
Yes,
And the superintendent, was that Victor Mercurio at the time?
yes.
I have to get rid of my annotation mark, sorry. And then also calling your attention where the cursor is here for paragraph 5. Will you read that, please, Ms. Yankee?
Sure. The parties agree that the consolidated position of finance director, director of administration shall remain an at-will position, answerable only to the town manager and superintendent.
Okay, so the position was answerable only to the town manager and the superintendent. And in paragraph 6, if you can read where this line where I have the cursor, we're beginning with conversely.
Conversely, the town manager shall, consistent with the town charter, delegate all other responsibilities to the finance director, director of administration as he/she deems necessary and appropriate regarding those matters involving town finances and operations. The superintendent shall not interfere with these decisions of the town manager.
Thank you, Ms. Yankee. So this document essentially established that the consolidated finance director position was a direct report of both the superintendent and the town manager. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the town manager, pursuant to this MOA and pursuant to the charter, had authority to delegate and designate duties relating to the municipal finances to that position. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Yankee. I have no further questions for you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission? No. Great. Thank you, Ms. Yankee.
Oh, no, Chair, Madam Chair, Mr. Kirby is
Hello.
to ask questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
I thought he was doing it separately.
Well, I think he is going to present her separately in the presentation of his own case, but he still may ask questions on cross-examination that
Okay.
were within the scope of the examination just conducted by Mr. Rezzo.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank
And-
I have a question.
you. Do?
Yeah, sorry. Will this be our only opportunity to ask questions of the witness? Can someone just explain what the procedure is going to be from now until the end?
Yes, you can ask questions of the witnesses while they're testifying, obviously. Once they've concluded their testimony, you will not have an opportunity to ask questions. So.
I noticed also the respondent's witness. So is she going to be appearing a second time? Or is this the time?
I believe so, but if you're going to ask questions relative to the subject matters that Mr. Rezzo asked, now would be the time.
So
The questions. I'm not going to bring it back and try and have this on your case in chief.
Yeah, but
Sorry?
Yeah.
You might want to.
So you can, Secretary Palumbo, you can certainly ask questions of Ms. Yankee.
So I just want to follow up this, Ms. Yankee. So you testified that the town council could not have appointed Ms. Dykeman without Ms. Corrigan's recommendation. Is there a mechanism where if she were to recuse, what does the town have? Does the town have anything in place? Is there an alternate town manager? Is there some mechanism that could have logistically been put in place for someone to make the recommendation?
No, the charter states that the town manager brings forth a candidate and the council votes on that candidate. And the council can accept or reject any nomination that a town manager brings forth. But there's no other mechanism. You have to vote yay or nay on each and every recommendation that the town manager puts forth on
So I'm
every.
one thing that jumped out to me in the charter, this idea of an acting town manager. It says if there's an absence of the actual town manager, there's capability of appointing an acting town manager in her place. Have you seen that? Is that something that could have been done for purposes of making the recommendation if she needed to?
So Gail was actually, Ms. Corrigan was actually in the capacity as the acting town manager at that point. So we already had that mechanism in place.
So I guess, so she,
Yeah.
acting manager can't appoint an acting town manager.
Right, and again, it would still have to be approved by the council. Any affirmative action would still have to be approved by the town council.
Could I get that timing straight? Because she was acting and then the acting title was removed. Was her appointment of Ms. Dykeman as acting or once the acting title had been removed?
That's a good question. I'd have to look at the timeline. This was a court case too that we involved in that we really didn't have an acting town manager, so we had to remove that. So I'd have to go back over the timeline to answer that question.
Mm-hmm. And was, I guess, a related question, and maybe premature since we haven't heard from Mr. Kirby, but was there any discussion in this period about conflict and the potential conflict?
No.
You also talk, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, please, Secretary Plummer.
You also mentioned during your testimony that the respondent actually, prior to recommending Ms. Dykeman, she recommended someone else that, did I understand that correct? She recommended someone else that the town council did not approve? That came.
No, it was an example of Ms. Corrigan recommending somebody for a different position that the town council ultimately did not approve. It was an example of sometimes the town manager would present a candidate to be appointed to a certain position, and the town council actually has the ultimate authority as to whether or not that appointment goes through. So it wasn't that position, it was a different position that she had brought a candidate for, then the council voted that down. It happened when I was on the school committee with hiring teachers and different positions. So the ultimate appointing authority would be your governing body, either the school committee or the town council. Does that make it clear?
It does, but I'm not, from everything I heard, you guys approve her appointment.
Yeah, so the town manager or the superintendent would put a name forth, a recommendation as to who a candidate would be for a certain position, and the town council and school board votes. And without that stamp of approval, that person is not hired or fired.
Thank you.
Can I just ask one other related question? Because the town council did act on its own to appoint Ms. Corrigan, correct? And prior to that, wasn't Ms. Dykeman appointed, or that was the school committee appointment?
The
correct?
school committee. The
Okay.
school committee hired her first. They had an opening and were very impressed with what she had done. This, I don't want to talk too much, but it all started in December when the school committee presented a letter to the Auditor General that they were going to have a structural deficit. And once that happens, it triggers a whole series of events that have to occur. They have to come up with a corrective action plan. So that December letter, when the town council received that, alarm bells started going off. And when we were approaching March and they still had not come up with a corrective action plan, it's when, I contacted the school board president and said, what is your plan? And that started this whole process of bringing somebody in to help them with the corrective action plan. We had a series of surpluses for a number of years on the school committee, so it really alarmed us how quickly they developed a structural deficit.
Commissioner Bennett.
Hi, a couple questions, kind of a follow-up, I think, to Commissioner Palumbo. The solicitor never chimed in, never thought that somebody should reconsider some of the actions of either the counselor or Ms. Corrigan.
No, and we were also in the process of hiring a new solicitor. We were not entirely satisfied with the direction and the
You
recommendation.
didn't have somebody in place at that time.
Yeah, so it was a transition from one to another, and so no, the solicitor never chimed in.
What other question? It appears to me that on June 19th of 2017 was when Ms. Corrigan was installed as acting town manager. Prior to that, what roles or involvement with appointed or elected positions would she have had in the town?
She didn't. She was just hired as a consultant.
A contractor at large.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Murphy, and you're muted.
Do you know, Ms. Cienki, if when Ms. Dykeman was hired as the Consolidated Director of Finance, she was hired as a W-2 employee, or was she hired as a consultant through Providence Analytics?
When she was hired, I'm sorry, I missed the first part of your question.
When she was originally hired as the Consolidated Director of Finance, was she hired as a W-2 employee of the town, or was she hired as a consultant through Providence Analytics? In other words, was she paid directly through the town?
Yes.
Do we have an exact date of the town council meeting that this took place?
There's a whole series of them. Which one?
The one that Ms. Dykeman was recommended. Actually, was that part of a separate action item, or was it part of approving a plan, and within that plan was her appointment?
Okay, so is that a question you're directing to the witness? Because that would be proper. That would be the proper way to do this.
It was, yeah. That was my question to Ms. Cienki. So was her appointment a separate action item by the respondent, or was it part of this, just an item in this larger one town plan?
Yes, so I believe that we were voting on the one town consolidation during an executive session, and I believe that once we voted on that, then we voted to ask Linda to come on. So it was both actions happen at the same time.
Going back to my original question, I'm sorry, do we have an exact date of when this meeting was that everyone's that both sides are in agreement on? This is I guess this is for the prosecution, maybe, or
can we direct questions toward?
Well, at this point, we should be directing questions of the witnesses,
Okay.
but
I believe it was in June.
Okay.
And it's part of the stipulations that you have.
I think it's number 14, Kyle, if you look. Page 5 of that document. No, it's not very clear, though, I have to say.
Oh, okay. Are there again, I guess this isn't okay, I'm done for now, thanks.
Any other questions of Ms. Cienki? If not, we'll move to Mr. Kirby.
he's muted right now.
No longer
No,
muted.
it's not.
Okay, good.
This is video.
I've never been muted in my life.
Well, we know that.
That's true. Thank you. First, for a point of clarification, that the stipulation does indicate that on item number 17, it was the June June 27th, town council executive session that was approved of the corrective action plan, which consolidated both the finance director position on the town side with the business manager administration position on the school side. And that subsequently, if you look at stipulation agreed to number 20, it was on July 1 that she began, Ms. Dykeman began in her newly created position as the town finance director and director of administration. Just for point of clarification to the commissioner's question on that. So my questions briefly will be addressed, obviously, to former council president Cianci. And first and foremost, one of the last questions that the prosecutor asked you was regarding Exhibit 12 and the preparation of the the memorandum of agreement between the town council and the school committee. Just as for the board's edification, Gail Corrigan at the time was the town manager when that was prepared, correct?
Yes.
But she did not participate in any of the drafting of the language in that particular agreement, correct?
Yes, it was a joint committee between members of the town council and the school committee and their respective attorneys that worked on the memorandum of agreement. So there were lots of cooks in the kitchen for that memorandum of agreement.
As a matter of fact, it was prepared by counsel for the school committee, the town solicitor, and various cooks in the kitchen, as you just stated. All were aware at that time that Gail Corrigan was in fact the town manager, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, all were aware that Gail Corrigan, along with Linda Dykeman, 1 year prior, had actually made a presentation to the council as business partners doing the analysis of the school committee's finances. Am I correct in that?
Yes, they were at a public meeting. So everybody knew that they worked together.
Mr. Kirby, did you want to start your video?
Oh, I don't know if it's working. Is it okay if I continue on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're the faceless attorney.
Yeah. No, they've seen my face. I have a face for radio. So let me back up, if I may, Ms. Cianci. Let's go back to this quickly, just to recap. In December of 2016, the town school committee had some financial issues, correct?
Yes, they had indicated to the Auditor General that they were going to run a structural deficit.
And because of that, you as the town council president wanted to make inquiry as to why there was this structural deficit, correct?
Certainly. It set off a series of alarm bells within the town. Schools are never, according to state law, allowed to run a deficit. So they have to notify the state, they have to notify the town council, and they have to come up with a corrective action plan. So when they sent that letter to Dennis Hoyle, who is the Auditor General, they have to come up, and I may be wrong, but within a certain period of time, 30 days, some type of correction action plan. How are they going to overcome the structural deficit? What are they going to do? And they didn't. It was a couple of months that they still hadn't come up with a plan, and we on the town council said that we would help them in any way we possibly could to figure out a way out of their financial difficulties.
And how did that work out?
So that worked out by, we said we'd go look for a consultant because we didn't have the capacity nor the knowledge at that time. We didn't have the bandwidth within our the current staff that we had to come up with it. The school committee was certainly at that time not satisfied with their financial director. And that was quite evident by falling into the structural deficit. So that's when we found the consultants, Providence Analytics, to help them develop some type of plan.
And when Providence Analytics appeared before the joint committee of the council and the school committee, both Linda Dykeman and Gail Corrigan were together making this presentation. Is that correct?
Yes, they came before the council, the school.
Madam Chairperson, I'd
Yes.
raise an objection at this point. We're exceeding the scope of the direct examination at this juncture. And I understand that Ms. Cienki is going to be a witness for the respondent in her case in chief. But right now we're in the prosecution's case in chief, and the questions on cross should be limited to the scope of my direct.
Mr. Kirby?
Well, I believe that the discussion on direct examination was that Providence Analytics was retained, and I'm trying to clarify as to how Providence Analytics was retained and actually who Providence Analytics were, for the benefit of the committee to understand the circumstances surrounding both the appearance of Linda Dykeman and Gail Corrigan as consultants, and then later on in the employ of the town of East Greenwich. Madam Chair, I would ask that you ask your legal counsel for a ruling on the objection.
I think I can roll.
Okay.
I'm actually interested. I'd like to hear it. Unless there's any objections, I'd like you to proceed. And
Okay, so I think you've ruled the objection is overruled then, correct, Chair?
yes,
So, Ms. Cienki, back in March of 2017, both Providence Analytics appeared before the joint committee, correct?
Yes, yeah.
And at that
At
the presentation was submitted by both Gail Corrigan and Linda Dykeman for an
yes,
analysis of the school's finances, correct?
yes.
And then later on, as the stipulated facts indicate, the council expanded this engagement of Providence Analytics, Gail Corrigan, and Linda Dykeman to look at the town finances as well. That's an agreed to issue, correct?
Yes, the school board president had suggested strongly that if the school's finances were such a mess, why we thought the towns were perfect, and said, why aren't you looking? I think her statement was, why aren't you looking at the town's finances? We thought everything was fine on the town side. So, but, you know, we anticipated that was what was going to come out of the look at on the town's finances. Everything was copacetic. So we agreed to it.
And that required an RFQ. You went out to an RFQ because it was going to be an expanded scope of services beyond just $5,000.
Yes, and that was per state law. You have to go out to bid. So we did a request for qualifications because we had a specific need that we were looking for, not just request for a proposal, an RFP. So we went out for an RFQ.
And the response to the RFQ came from Providence Analytics, correct?
Yeah, we only had one. So at that point, I started calling around because I didn't think that that's the way government should do business. You should always look for more than one bidder. But the timing was terrible because it was tax season. So a lot of the CPAs were just overwhelmed. They didn't have the broadband to do this type of work that we needed. It was a time of the essence situation. So the council then approved Providence Analytics to continue doing the job.
And I would ask that the members of the commission take a look at prosecution exhibit number 2, the Providence Analytics bid submission indicating that both Linda Dykeman and Gail Corrigan were in fact the members of Providence Analytics on that response to request for qualifications. Next, Ms. Cienki, would you explain to the commission the position that with regard to the school finance department, that Linda Dykeman was fulfilling to you the best of your knowledge during this time frame?
So Linda was hired to be the director of administration for the school side. And the director of administration did all their finance, negotiated the contracts for them. So it was a wide scope of duties on anything to do with finance on the school side. Linda was in charge of.
And this is prior to the engagement of Gail Corrigan as the acting town manager, correct?
Yes, yes.
And in fact, Providence Analytics, you were aware that Providence Analytics was a consulting firm that had done other municipal and state or agency analysis, public jobs, correct?
Yes.
You were aware that they had been doing work for the Central Coventry Fire District, Linda Dykeman and Gail Corrigan as Providence Analytics, handling their administrative and finance issues?
Yes.
Correct? And in fact, that's what drew you to their company in their area of expertise and asking them to do an analysis for the town of East Greenwich and the school committee.
Certainly, they were recommended by individuals that we asked. This is what we were looking for. So they were highly recommended.
And you were aware that they were in the process of doing an audit and handling administrative and financial matters for the Central Coventry Fire District during the time frame that the town of East Greenwich engaged them to handle the financial analysis of the school issues as well as the town issues.
Yes.
And that it was an ongoing project for Providence Analytics, Linda Dykeman, and Gail Corrigan.
Yes.
Okay. And as you testified earlier, and as the evidence indicates, Linda Dykeman was then, for lack of a better term, peeled off from Providence Analytics with regard to the school committee side and asked to be an employee to handle the finance issues there, correct?
Yes, their finance director, Gail Wilcox, had resigned. So they had someone, and we're quite impressed with Linda's ability.
Let's talk about how you were impressed with her ability. She's a consultant for Providence Analytics, and because of the good job that she had done with the finance department and the school department, the council wanted to expand that to look at its own finances, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we had a meeting with Dennis Hoyle and with the state over the school structural deficit, and both Linda and Gail were present, along with the then finance director of the schools and of the town. They really took charge of the meeting, presented the case, presented options. We're talking about a consolidation plan, how it could work. I think both bodies, because the school board president and myself were present, along with our two other members of our board. So everybody was just impressed with the quality of the work.
And Linda Dykeman was working for the finance department, for the school department as its finance director when you were contemplating this merger of positions, correct?
Yes, yes.
And in fact, that merger, as we have talked about earlier, was something that you used the term kicked around since 2004. That had been kind of the focus of trying to correct the town of East Greenwich's finances for quite a while. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I had been a member of the school board, and the school board president at that time, Vince Bradley, had always talked about, the friction between the schools and the towns, and how to make a more collaborative effort, how to make government more efficient. So even at that time, there were areas that we worked on where some of the back office accounting would be taking place over on the town side. It was never fully implemented. And at that meeting with Dennis Hoyle, he clearly indicated, when we came up with the corrective action plan, that the only way that this was going to work is if there was buy-in from the school side. And that was really important to both bodies, that the school committee was very happy with whoever we hired to be that joint finance person. And there was also that requirement that anybody that worked on the school side had to be a certified school business manager. At that time, our finance director for the town did not have that certification, and we had indicated that we would help pay for any coursework that she needed to do that, but she was not interested in becoming a school business manager.
So in reference to the consolidation, it's fair to say that Gail Corrigan was not the original person to come forward with this grand idea of consolidating the back office or the IT or HR between school and town finances. Is that correct?
Yeah, it really was. The genesis of this was starting in 2004.
Okay. And with reference to when Gail, you indicated that in June, you lost the town manager. The town manager was leaving the town of East Greenwich, correct?
Yes.
And you didn't have a town manager, right?
Yes.
You're about to, and please describe for the commission the circumstances surrounding. Now you're looking at appointing Gail Corrigan as the acting town manager. What were those circumstances and why?
We just felt as if when Providence Analytics had come in and had covered some of the reasons why the school was running a deficit, and then we hired them to do an analysis on the town side, we looked at, we had to go through all the contracts to see where we were. They had found our financial impact statements that are required by state law, particularly, one with the fire department that had become an entity of the town instead of a separate department. It was off by close to $1.2 million. That has a significant impact on any town when your financial impact statements are so far off. So when we saw that, as much as people liked the then current town manager, we felt that we needed to make a change. And certainly the people that were responsible for finding the irregularities in our finances, we thought that they were the best, she was the best person to move us forward and clean up the finances, which were array is the best way to describe it.
And that would have been Gail Corrigan, that you had made a decision that she should be the acting town manager?
Yes.
Did you have a discussion with your other town council members regarding this appointment?
Sure. I don't make decisions by myself. It's a council appointment, so you need a council approval of that.
And did you approach Ms. Corrigan about accepting these responsibilities?
Yes, strongly asked her, please, twisted her arm.
And go ahead.
Yeah, so yes, had several discussions. Would she be interested? We'd really like to put her name forward to become acting town manager.
But prior to Gail accepting this appointment as the acting town manager, part of Providence Analytics analysis outlined a merger of the departments, some of these departments between school and municipal, correct?
Yes.
All right. And when Gail indicated she would accept it, did anyone have a discussion with you or with Gail regarding the merger upon her accepting the position?
Did anybody have it?
Well, I'm sorry. Maybe I might be asking the question a little. Did anyone have a discussion with you or, to your knowledge, with Gail Corrigan that they were this prior analysis indicated there should be a merger of the school side along with the town side. Did anyone mention, well, we're going to do this merger and Linda Dykeman is over there as the certified business person. If we were to bring her in as the finance director, that's going to be an issue because Gail Corrigan and you and Linda were business partners who had made a presentation in the open to the council and everyone else in the town. Did anyone raise that issue then?
No, I mean, everybody was aware that they were the consultants we brought in. So everybody knew that they had worked together.
And that the recommendation of the consolidation had occurred prior to Gail Corrigan being engaged as the acting town manager?
Yes.
Okay. Now you're aware that the town had a town solicitor at the time. I believe that the new town solicitor, you were going through a change, was Dave D'Agostino. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, we had two. Dave D'Agostino took over most of the work, and then we had hired Andy Tights to do all zoning and planning work. So we split the job of town solicitor.
And were both those town solicitors aware of this merger, to your knowledge, aware of this merger between the town finance and the school department?
Sure, they would have been aware. They attend our meetings, so yes.
Did anyone raise the issue at that time regarding any ethics concerns of Ms. Corrigan serving in the capacity as the acting town manager, and that her business associate who had made that presentation on the consolidation was working with the school department?
No.
Okay. And are you aware that you're aware that Gail Corrigan and Linda Dykeman, as their consulting business, had been managing the Central Coventry Fire District, correct?
Yeah.
And are you aware that Dave D'Agostino, your town solicitor, was also the legal counsel to the Central Coventry Fire District?
Yes.
Okay. And did Mr. D'Agostino ever raise this issue to either you or any member of the council or to Ms. Corrigan, to your knowledge?
No.
Okay. Could we, I see that we've been going now for about 2 hours. I would just ask the committee if we could take a 5 to 10 minute break. I also want to make sure that my electronic system is not going to die on me. I want to make sure the plugin's okay.
I was thinking that we would take a break in a little while. Can I ask you, but I think it's a good idea to probably take a 5-minute break, but I'm in part to work on your video, but also I'm curious, Mr. Kirby, do you intend to continue to have questions for Ms. Cianci later? Because you've had a lot here and I just want to know if we should keep her on for the duration.
Well, I think with the chairs and
I have heat where I am, so I can stay here all day.
Well, I don't intend to keep you all day.
Don't make me go home.
What I'd like, Madam Chair, what I'd like to do is, with the chair and the commission's indulgence, is through my questioning, I think that I'd be finished with having to call Ms. Cianci in our case in chief, that I wouldn't need to do that, as long as I have the indulgence of the chair and the prosecution to just continue along the lines of the questioning that I have, which may not be much longer, but I would appreciate a 5-minute break.
Madam Chairperson, I wouldn't have any objection, but if Ms. Cianci is not going to be called in the case in chief for the opposing side, I would reserve the right to cross-examine Ms. Cianci on any of the questions that Attorney Kirby is putting to her now that are outside of the scope of my direct.
Okay, well then that I think argues for a brief break, even though we'll see Ms. Cianci. Can we take 5 minutes? Because we have a lot to do and we have not the whole day, but great. So 5-minute break. It is 11:27, so 11:35. That's good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I am here and I'm good to go. I'm going to turn my screen off though, but you'll know I'm
Thank
here.
you. Okay, thank you. I don't know if Mr. Kirby or Mr. Rezzo are back.
Richard Kirby's here.
Great. Is your video working or no?
Let's see. I'll see what I can get here.
Great.
Not sure. Is it working?
Yes. Thank you.
Much better picture, Mr. Kirby.
What?
I said, that's a much better picture of you than before. You were a black screen before, Mr. Kirby.
Well, that's usually a better look for me. Anyway.
And I just want
Like
to
I said, I have
confirm,
a face for radio.
I want to confirm that the executive director is here as well.
I don't think Jason's in yet.
No. There he is. Great. Okay. So I think we can proceed. I think we, Mr. Kirby, you are going to continue or conclude your questions with Ms. Yankee.
Okay, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yes, thank you. All right, Ms. Yankee, I'd like to refer to go back to the time in around June of 2017 where you approached or had a conversation with Gail Corrigan about her becoming the temporary or acting town manager. Do you recall the circumstances surrounding that just briefly?
Yes.
I don't. Was that Ms. Yankee answering the question?
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, okay. So if you could just briefly outline what the circumstances surrounding your speaking with Ms. Corrigan about becoming the acting town manager.
Yeah, you know, we were, the entire town council was very impressed with the work that Providence Analytics had done on behalf of the schools and then subsequently on behalf of the town. Certainly finding some financial irregularities and a lot of misinformation that was given to the town council when they were making decisions. So, you know, we sat down with Gail and talked to her about her interest in possibly taking over to become, you know, an acting town manager, and asked her if she'd be interested in taking over that role. It was it's a little pushy to convince
Little
her
pushy?
that
Who was a little pushy?
I was to convince her that the town needed financial expertise of her and her vision for moving the town forward and correcting what we saw were financial irregularities within the town.
And we had previously had a conversation during your testimony. You indicated that the merger of the town side and the school side had been a presentation from Providence Analytics, Linda Dykeman, and Gail Corrigan prior to Gail taking the position as the acting town manager. Do you recall that?
Yes, they came to us in the spring of 2017 and presented a plan. Providence Analytics did. So yes, that was prior to us hiring her.
And after Gail was engaged as the acting town manager, there was an effort made to effectuate combining the town finance and the school finance. Is that correct?
Yes.
What efforts, if you recall, were you expending in helping effectuate that merger of the town finance side along with the school finance side?
So for a long period of time, and again, this goes back to 2016, where, you know, in order to have a better working relationship with the school committee and the town council, when I sat on the school board, we started having, I think it was weekly or every 2 weeks, the town council president, the school board chair and the vice chairs on both boards would meet with the town manager and the superintendent, and we would talk about issues, any type of issues. So, that was the beginning of trying to have a more collaborative working relationship with the two bodies. And this combined finance position and talking about IT and human resources was all born out of what started in 2004 to try to work together. And I guess Providence Analytics put a label on it as a one town. They branded it. It was a branding to try to get the residents to understand exactly what we were trying to accomplish.
The Providence Analytics did a branding of a prior idea and concept that had been within the town of East Greenwich for a number of years, correct?
Yeah, and it was more of an implementation of an idea that had occurred in 2014 and had already, in fact, begun. We had already, in between 2004 and 2008, started removing, or the town was taking over some of the back office accounting. And the idea behind that was, we wanted the schools to be able to concentrate on what they do best, and that was educating students. And if we could remove some of the finances from them, we could. The hiccup becomes some of the regulations that RIDE wants a finance department to do on the school side. So the joint finance and director of administration, there were lots of implementation. You go from idea to execution, and Providence Analytics came up with the execution plan.
And the executing of this plan in the spring of 2017, you were just hiring Gail Corrigan as your acting town manager, correct?
Yes.
And you were losing your town finance director, is that correct?
Well, the school committee had lost their finance director, and Linda was hired by them. And then, by the end of the summer of 2017, our finance director was left us.
Okay. And you've got Linda Dykeman over there on the finance side for the school. No one on the town side for the finance. You're impressed with Linda Dykeman. Did you have any conversations with Linda Dykeman about her taking the position as taking the consolidated position of town finance and school finance?
Yes, number of conversations. We're basically asking an individual to really take on two roles, to actually do two jobs. So we had to convince somebody that this was a great idea, and working in state government is a great public service. So I had to work hard at convincing Linda, and we were just also impressed with the quality of her work. And having been on the school side, having now worked on the town side, the quality of individuals out there. And what we were experiencing across the state is there aren't many individuals that go into government accounting anymore. So the talent pool certainly shrinks each and every year. So when you find somebody, the quality of Linda, you want to grab onto them. I had maintained contact with people that we had as previous finance directors in the town that I was impressed with, and had numerous conversations with a bunch of these people about the quality of candidates and the ever shrinking pool of people that actually go into government accounting. It was small.
You made it clear to Linda Dykeman that you wanted her to be the combined position, obviously, correct?
Yeah, when you see somebody that is of that high caliber and quality, you don't want them to go anywhere else. We were just so impressed with her work and her credentials, and she had everything that the school needed, and felt confident she had everything that the town side needed.
And what about your new acting town manager? How did you indicate to her what your opinion of Gail Corrigan was?
Gail or Linda?
Linda.
How-
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Linda.
Basically said that the town council was so impressed with what Linda did that it didn't really matter who she brought up as town finance. We were all certainly focused in on trying to get Linda to be the joint person. And in particular, it goes back to the statement that Dennis Hoyle made, that unless the schools buy into it, and the schools already bought into Linda, they already felt that she was a quality candidate. So here we had somebody that we knew that the schools were very confident in her ability. So it seemed like this was the perfect person. We already had buy-in from the schools. So in order for this whole concept to work, we had the buy-in from the schools. Now we needed the town council to, take on that role of agreeing to what the schools really wanted.
And you indicated this to Gail Corrigan as to your desire to have Linda Dykeman as in this combined position?
Yeah, she could put anybody she wanted up, but I think that the temperature of the room with the town council was we really liked Linda. And that's who we all were going to vote for.
To your knowledge, did Gail Corrigan ever indicate to you that, since it was public knowledge more, that she and Linda were working together at Providence Analytics, that Gail considered it to be a conflict of interest or knew of it to be any issue, to your knowledge?
No, everybody knew that they worked together, so it wasn't hidden.
And it was your insistence that the name that Linda Dykeman come forward, that name be presented forward to you for the combined position?
Yeah, the town council was very happy with Linda and thought that she was the perfect candidate to do the job.
Did you have this conversation with Gail Corrigan prior to her accepting the position as the acting town manager, if you recall?
I don't recall the time limit, just that Linda's just somebody we really thought was great. Qualified, had all the credentials that were necessary for both the school and the town side. And the schools were so happy with her.
And you had testified earlier that, in fact, the town manager, the acting town manager, in her capacity, Gail Corrigan, had presented someone to the council that you denied to hire. That was after your insistence on the nominating and appointing and approval of Linda Dykeman. Isn't that correct?
I don't exactly remember the time limit, but I do remember that there was instances where Gail would bring a candidate, and I clearly remember there was a candidate that she brought forward that we rejected.
Not
and
for
again,
town
as
finance, or not for the consolidated position.
Finance. A separate job, a separate position. Yeah, we rejected that candidate.
Well, if we look at the time frame, isn't it, to your recollection, the first person recommended as a hire at for the council was, in fact, Linda Dykeman, the first person that Gail Corrigan recommended for the hiring?
Yes.
So it was sometime after that.
Yeah,
that
so it's
the
after
council
that.
exercised, yeah.
Just
Okay.
don't remember the date.
Okay. At any time during this presentation from Providence Analytics, and then later on engaging Linda Dykeman as the town finance person in the combined position, and then Gail Corrigan as the acting town manager, did anyone raise the issue that there would have been a violation of the Rhode Island Conflict of Interest Ethics Commission rules and regulations, to your
No.
knowledge?
No,
Did you say earlier you're an attorney as well, correct, Ms. Yankee?
yes.
Did it ever occur to you that there would be an ethics issue based on this relationship that existed prior to their being engaged by the town in their public capacities?
And I am not a Rhode Island attorney, but the answer to that is no.
And with regard to the bills that were submitted by Providence Analytics, you approved those bills for payment?
Yes,
And the signature that was on the checks from Providence, from the town of East Greenwich may have had the prior town finance director's name on them, but that was, to your knowledge, based on the Munis check writing system. Is that correct?
yes, yes.
I may just have one moment.
Fine.
Just want to speak to my client.
Okay.
Ms. Yankee, are you there?
Yes,
With reference to the Home Rule Charter, you're familiar with the Home Rule Charter?
yes.
Now, we had talked about the appointment or nomination, as I would like to say, look at it, that the council would confirm the hire by anyone nominated by the town manager. With reference to the supervision of Ms. Dykeman by the respondent, Gail Corrigan, could you speak to that to the commission as to your understanding of her supervisory capacity?
Yes.
Feel free to elaborate on that if you understand what the supervision aspects were.
Well, your town manager manages at what I would say is a 30,000 feet level. And each department head is really your chief executive of that department. So your town manager is kind of oversees, I guess. And if a department head is going on vacation, of course they would indicate to their the town manager that they were taking vacation, and the same thing with the superintendent, they would do the same thing. In particular, on the particular day-to-day job, the town manager isn't telling the police department how to run their department. Certainly not telling the DPW person how to run their department, and the day-to-day minutia of a finance department, it would be the same thing. They're overarching 30,000 feet level as to how the town runs.
Hello?
Hi.
Yep.
Oh, did I lose you? Oh,
No?
if Gail Corrigan wanted to fire Linda Dykeman, could she do it?
Not
Without your
without the
approval?
approval of the town council.
How about if she wanted to discipline her?
If she wanted to discipline her?
Yeah. Not without the approval of the town council? Isn't that correct, under the charter?
Yeah. Certainly, everything, you recommend to the council, and the council has final authority according to the charter.
So in essence, I would like to ask you, what leeway did Gail Corrigan have in getting Linda Dykeman to not being, to preventing her from being your combined town finance director, given your position as the town council president?
Well, it's, because of the way of the structure of what we were doing, Linda had a lot of bosses. There were 7 members of the school committee. There was a superintendent. There were 5 members of the town council, and then there was Gail Corrigan. So talk about 14 people having input as to whether or not you're doing your job. It's one of the reasons why we had to convince somebody to take that job. You had a lot of people inputting or asking questions. And in particular, if there was a member of the school committee or there was a member of the town council that had a financial question, you weren't necessarily going through the superintendent or the town manager. You would go to Linda directly. So you had a lot of people that were asking input. Because it was such a unique job.
I have no further questions at this time.
All right, thank you. Ms. Durazo?
One follow-up question for Ms. Cianci.
Yes.
Ms. Cianci, earlier you had read from the prosecution's Exhibit P3, the charter under Section C85, Powers and Duties. Attorney Kirby just asked you about the ability to fire. Could, in fact, Gail Corrigan as town manager fire Ms. Dykeman? Would it be fair to say that if Ms. Corrigan wanted to fire Ms. Dykeman, it would have to be approved by the town council pursuant to the charter? Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
But
Yes.
But is it also fair to say, much like with the appointment process requiring an action both by the town manager under the charter and the town council under the charter, would it likewise be that if Ms. Corrigan wanted to terminate Ms. Dykeman, he would have to bring that to the council for approval?
Right, and this was such a unique job. You'd have to go to the school committee too, and the superintendent, because it was a joint.
But the town council couldn't act on its own to terminate or suspend Linda Dykeman without the town manager first taking some action pursuant to her charter authority. Is that correct?
You would have to bring a recommendation to the town council, and we would vote yes.
Thank you, Ms. Cianci. I have nothing further.
Commissioner Palumbo, do you have a question? You're on mute.
I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but I want to go back to something I was trying to wrap my head around earlier. So she, at the time of the recommendation, appointment, and approval by the town council in conjunction with Ms. Corrigan, she was acting town manager, not town manager.
Yes.
So when I read the charter, so if the town, if there is a town manager and they're not, they're have a temporary absence, or then they can't act for whatever reason, there's ability to appoint an acting town manager to fill those duties. I guess my question is, if Ms. Corrigan had recused or stepped down, is there any mechanism in the charter or by inherent town council authority to have given someone else authority to make that recommendation and appointment? Since she's the acting town manager and not the town manager, like what was there any mechanism to put someone in there to accomplish that in the instance to avoid this allegation of conflict?
We would have to, then ask, I guess, a DPW head if they wanted to become the acting town manager.
She was the acting town manager, so you would have to you can't. Yeah,
we'd have to have a reason to remove her. Yeah,
Okay, all right, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the commission members? I have one question because it wasn't clear to me. What happened with the contract with Providence Analytics once these appointments were made? As acting town manager, then town manager, and the finance director.
Yeah, then we no longer paid for the services of, once that was done, once they became employees.
Okay, thank you. All right. Anything else, Mr. Ezzo or Mr. Kirby for Ms. Cianci? Okay, I think you are free to go.
I'm just
Herb?
warmed up.
Herb, you're muted, Herb. Herb is anxiously telling me to do something I'm not doing. You're muted. You're muted, Herb. There you go.
All right, there we go. I just wanted to be clear from the prior representations made before the break. Mr. Kirby, you have no more questions of Ms. Cianci?
That's correct.
And you will not be calling her then in the presentation of your case? You've satisfied yourself?
Yeah, there's no need to. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Rezzo, do you have any further questions of Ms. Cianci?
I am done with this witness. Thank you.
Okay, so we can excuse this witness and we don't have to bring her back. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that correct, Mr. Kirby?
Correct.
Thank you for clarifying my points.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yankee.
Thanks.
It's time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Rezzo.
My next witness, I call the respondent, Gail Corrigan.
I'm not seeing her in a box anywhere. Am I missing it?
No, she's going to be showing up in Richard Kirby's box.
Okay.
There you go. Good morning or good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your full name for the record.
Gail Ann Corrigan.
Thank you.
Hello, Ms. Corrigan. You're testifying here today relative to your former positions in the town of East Greenwich with respect to being the town manager. Prior to your service in East Greenwich, have you held any other public positions in Rhode Island?
Not as an appointed town manager, but I've had positions in Rhode Island as a consultant.
Have you served for any Rhode Island agencies in an appointed position as a director or deputy director?
Yes, Rhode Island Housing.
And have you also had prior experience working in the city of Central Falls?
That's correct.
And was that as a consultant?
As a consultant.
And did you serve as chief of staff to the receiver in Central Falls some years ago?
I did.
Very briefly, could you just tell us what professional degrees and certifications you have in your private capacity?
Sure. I have an undergraduate degree in Russian and political science, graduate degree in political science, all but dissertation, doctoral level, MBA in accounting, and a CPA certificate from the state of Delaware.
Very good. In your private capacity, were you previously on the board of governing board for Common Cause Rhode Island at one point?
Yes.
And when would that have been, if you recall?
I don't recall. It's in my, no, I don't recall.
Do you recall in 2015 testifying before the Ethics Commission on a petition for rulemaking on behalf of Common Cause? Does that Sound familiar?
Yes.
And would that have been on behalf of Common Cause urging the commission to adopt rules relating to financial disclosure requirements?
I don't really know. I remember that John Marion, who was the executive director of Common Cause, was unable to make the date and asked if I would appear on behalf of Common Cause.
And you presented testimony on their behalf before the commission, is that right?
I do not recall. I remember being at the commission. I don't know what exactly happened.
But you were at the Ethics Commission previously.
Yes.
With respect to the appointment of Ms. Dykeman, Ms. Cienki told you she wanted Ms. Dykeman as the next finance director, didn't she?
Several of the council members told me to place her name.
But Ms. Cienki as town council president told you that, is that correct?
She was one of several.
Okay. You never told Ms. Cienki that it was a potential conflict of interest for you to make that appointment, did you?
It never crossed my mind.
And you never expressed any reservation or concerns to Ms. Cienki or anyone else on the council regarding your ability to bring Linda Dykeman for approval as the next finance director?
It never crossed my mind.
But you were aware, clearly, of your business relationships with Ms. Dykeman, were you?
My business relationship with Ms. Dykeman was made extremely, it was public. Everybody was aware of my business relationship with Ms. Dykeman.
Everyone on the council that you were appearing before when you were presenting your Providence Analytics?
It wasn't just the council, it was part of the news. We were on Channel 10, Channel 12. We were in the Providence Journal. We were written, it was well known at that time. It was covered by all news agencies. So I would say the general public at that time knew of our business relationship. It was on Twitter. It was on Facebook. It was everywhere.
Okay. Did you ever disclose to Ms. Cienki that you and Ms. Dykeman were involved in a limited liability corporation together? Lowe's and Associates.
I know that we had discussed the work that we were doing, the pro bono work we were doing for the John Hope Settlement House. That had been discussed.
With Ms. Cienki?
With Ms. Cienki, with various members of the council. They were very interested in what was going on at that time with the John Hope Settlement House. We were trying to help the John Hope Settlement House. They had a new chairman of the board, and we had been asked with Karen Cooper was the third. And we had been asked by the John Hope Settlement House Board of Directors to actually help them kind of restructure and also to potentially merge with another entity that would help them meet the requirements of the state. There were many meetings, but that work by that time had pretty much was pretty much over.
Okay. Consistent with Ms. Cienki's wishes that she expressed for Ms. Dykeman to become the next finance director, you did in fact bring Linda Dykeman for approval to the town council. Is that correct?
I was told to make a recommendation, and I made that recommendation.
And at the time you made that recommendation, as you refer to it, was your company, MRP, making weekly retainer payments to Ms. Dykeman for her work at the Central Coventry Fire District?
Yes.
And during this time period, you never contacted the Ethics Commission to get any type of guidance as to whether or not that would present a conflict of interest with the discharge of your duties as acting manager or town manager?
No, it never crossed my mind, and I was never told that it was a problem. And everybody knew it was very public. Also, the work that both of us were doing at Central Coventry at that time. There were people, there was also again on Facebook, and also in the meetings. We were in joint meetings. Myself, when I say joint meetings, I mean meetings with Thursday night meetings with Central Coventry Board of Directors, where we both appear. It was on the Secretary of State's website. It was extremely public at that time.
And during this time period, you as town manager supervised Ms. Dykeman, is that correct?
I take an issue with the word supervision because I wasn't, when I think of supervision, I think of actually monitoring someone's work or kind of at a, at a departmental level. Again, I had 14 direct reports. I had fire, I had police, I had DPW.
But Linda Dykeman was one of your direct reports, was she not?
She was, I believe, at the end. There was a lot of discussion throughout the whole time of whether she was a direct report or not a direct report.
Of you or of Superintendent Mercurio?
They were discussing. There were so many different drafts. They were working through the lawyers were working through different drafts of whether it was a dotted line, whether it was a straight line. There was, at the time, it was, frankly, there was no direct answer to that question because, frankly, there's a lot. I was working extremely hard, and the one thing I probably wasn't doing was supervising Linda Dykeman because I was doing town manager work and coordinating departments. I wasn't actually managing her department or supervising her management of her department.
Ms. Corrigan, you have reviewed, have you not, prosecution's P6, which is Ms. Dykeman's term sheet of employment? You've reviewed that document before your testimony here today?
Okay. Yes.
And you executed that document, did you not?
I did not write the document, but I executed it.
You executed it in your capacity as town manager, correct?
Yes, I was told to execute it.
Who told you to execute it?
I believe it was, would have been Town Council President Yankee and some of the lawyers.
Chairperson Quinn, may I please share Exhibit P6?
Is there any objection?
No objection.
Okay, go right ahead. Thank you, Mr. Rizzo.
So P6 is Ms. Dykeman's term sheet of appointment of employment, and I'm calling your attention to this sentence beginning where the cursor is, beginning with this. Could you please read that aloud, Ms. Corrigan?
I can't really see where your cursor
Okay.
is.
Let me annotate it in a better fashion for you. Beginning right here. Where the blue arrow, if you can see that.
Hold on. You see where it is? Oh man, my eye, I really can't see that. I'm sorry. Oh. Okay, that's better. Okay, that's the town treasurer. This is considered an at-will appointment, and you may be subject to removal at the discretion of the town manager with approval of town council with or without cause and without the right to a pre-termination hearing and without right of appeal from council action.
Okay, thank you. And I would also just call your attention to one other section of Ms. Dykeman's term sheet that you just stated that you signed as town manager. And I'm going to call your attention to section 4. Could you please read both section A and B aloud, Ms. Corrigan?
Okay, A and B.
Yes, please.
The term of this employment, if not sooner terminated by the town manager, shall be indefinite to reflect the at-will status of employment. This term sheet may be renewed or extended in the sole discretion of the town manager and upon such additional terms and conditions as parties may mutually agree to in writing.
Thank you very much. So, consistent with the term sheet which you executed as town manager, you had discretionary authority over Linda Dykeman's continued employment as the consolidated finance director.
In actual fact, it might say that in this term sheet, but in actual fact, I did not.
You did not?
No.
And Ms. Corrigan, I'm going to turn our discussion to the financial disclosure allegations. When you received the 2016 financial disclosure form from the Ethics Commission, did you read the entire form before you completed your responses?
I only received the form. I did not receive any instructions or any ability to fulfill it online or any other thing. I only received the form. I did not receive a copy of the instructions. And I made an appointment upon receipt with 2 of my attorneys, the attorneys for the town, and went on a meeting. I believe it was the date that it was notarized. Was that the 19th? And met with the attorneys.
Okay, so let me just back up a little bit. So you received an envelope in the mail from the Ethics Commission, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you received the blank hard copy 2016 form, which you ultimately filed, is that correct?
That's correct. That's all I received.
There was nothing else in the envelope?
Nothing else, because I later learned, meeting with you, that there should have been an instruction sheet and that there should have been also instructions on how to file online. And pretty much because I file everything online, I don't really do much with paper. I would, if I had received that instructions and if I had received that online instructions, I would have immediately filed online. As it was, the only, after receiving it, the first time that I could get a meeting with my attorneys was on the 26th of January, and I met with the attorney.
Okay, when you say get a meeting with my attorneys, who are we talking about as your attorneys? Just so I know.
It wasn't my personal attorneys, it was the attorneys for the town, and at that time, there were 2. It was Dave D'Agostino and David Abbott.
And David D'Agostino was the solicitor in East Greenwich and legal counsel to the CCFD at that time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And Attorney Abbott, was he your personal attorney or was he a solicitor for the town of East Greenwich?
He was a what they call an assistant solicitor. So he was hired by the town of East Greenwich to on various matters, I believe, with the school committee. He had I know he was one of the people working on the town side with the school department on the memorandum of agreement that was ultimately signed. He was involved in that kind of the consolidated finance position. And he was on the town side working on that document, making public, he did a few public presentations on school matters and school reporting issues, things
And
like that.
ultimately, did he become your private attorney in the 2017-11 complaint? He entered his appearance
Not as my private attorney, as the town's attorney.
as the town's attorney. Okay. So your testimony today is that you did not receive any instructions in the envelope. And then you took that 2016 blank form and you met with Attorney D'Agostino and Attorney Abbott. Is that correct?
Yes, it was, the meeting had already been, there was a meeting on the January 26th. It was scheduled in Attorney Abbott's office at that time. And there were many other things on the agenda. And at that time I said, oh, I received this. Could you help me?
Okay. And I noticed on that form, is Attorney D'Agostino the notary on that form as well? Is that who notarized your form? Did we lose the witness?
It looks like the witness has left the meeting.
Do we want to see if someone wants to contact them and make sure they are able to sign back on?
Yes.
Thank you.
This is Jason. So we are attempting to call Mr. Kirby, getting his voicemail right now, but attempting to reestablish contact and get him back into the hearing. Mr. Kirby is calling right now. I'm going to take his call and I'll let you know what happens. Okay, I'm speaking with Mr. Kirby on the phone. I have him on the other line. So they're having some technical issues. I'm not exactly clear if it's Wi-Fi or it sounds more like he lost power to his device. Maybe the charge ran out and needs a little time. He's asking if the commission can recess for half an hour and come back at this time.
Herb?
Well, I think, so Jason, is there any way that we can have this discussion regarding timing with him on the phone? Is that?
Yeah, I can put him on speaker and see what we can do.
Why don't we do that?
Let me try that. Just a moment.
I mean, he could call in to Zoom, right?
He could. Let me see if he can do that or if I have to try to put him on the speaker. Just a
He
moment.
did mention that Ms. Corrigan had a computer too. They could possibly try to log on with hers for the conversation.
Let me try.
Okay.
Just to let you know, I'm still taking down these conversations here, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Correct.
Okay,
Thank
double
you.
checking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kirby is going to try to call in to have this discussion with the commission.
So we should really wait to hear from him.
Yes.
He connects with us before we proceed or really have any discussions.
part of this is here we go. He's coming in now.
Hello,
Hi, Mr. Kirby.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Do you want to tell us what's going on?
I think I'm connected now
You are you connected with your phone or a computer?
with the phone.
And
Okay,
so are you proposing, my understanding.
I'll do whatever you want to do right now. Whatever you'd like to do, as long as, if you want to continue, my client's here. I'm sorry for that technical difficulty.
Well, are you willing to proceed without the aid of the computer and solely using your telephone?
That's fine. My client's next to me. Gail, go ahead.
Can you see us?
No, we can't see you.
You can hear us?
Yeah, maybe, is there a way to put the film on,
I don't
the
know.
video? Hold on.
I don't know how to do it. Just one moment.
One moment.
I don't know if Tracy can help them at all.
If they connected just by call-in, then we're
Yeah.
not going to be able to show video.
Or
You can't-
exhibits.
However, if they come back in on a smartphone using the link provided, then we would be able to use both audio and video.
Which I think is the preference, correct?
Yes, because you can't see exhibits. You want to be able to see the witness too. The
Well,
attorney.
one thing I'm thinking is we do have other business in executive session. We could go to executive session while this gets worked out and conclude that other business and then come back to open session and see where we are. So we would only take up the other, obviously, we wouldn't discuss this yet. We would discuss the other items.
I think that's a great idea in the interest of time.
Okay, great.
Just me speaking.
Yeah, okay. So, Mr. Kirby, did you hear that? We're going to take a brief recess to go into executive session to take up other issues that we have. And then you can work out your audio-visual.
Audio.
Hello?
Okay.
Hi.
Okay, there's just not, I just don't have the,
Yeah, and I can get my computer. It's just, I have very low battery and it's out in my car, so I'll have to, it'll take me a few minutes to.
if it's okay with you, we'll just go forward. We don't want to cause more delay. My client will testify audio without a video, if that's okay with you.
Question, as far as swearing in additional witnesses, can they do that without a visual?
I don't think anyone else is going to be with Mr. Kirby other than Ms. Corrigan. Maybe. Is Linda
No.
Dykeman?
No, she's separate.
Okay.
If we took a 15-minute recess to handle our other business in executive session, Mr. Kirby, would you be able to come back on video in 15 minutes, do you think?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Yeah.
All right.
Let's do that then.
Okay, so we are going to do that. We're going to take a break, and I'm going to ask if we have before that, is there any new business for future?
So does Richard have to, Mr. Kirby has to leave the meeting though?
Oh.
Whether he'll be discussing another
Sorry.
matter in executive
Excuse me.
session? Is that
May
what
I
we're doing?
clarify something with regard to executive session?
Yes,
We are going to go into our regular executive session.
exactly.
So this meeting, Mr. Kirby can actually stay in this
Yes.
meeting. We're going to go to regular executive session, not the deliberations. And then we're going to come back to this open session.
Exactly. Yeah. So, well, I'll defer the
Secretary Quiet that was speaking, that was.
Excuse me, that was Tracy Texera, I believe, speaking.
That was,
Okay, sorry.
that was Michelle Berg. I think
fine.
we should suspend the meeting first, and the stenographer can stop taking down the stenography once we decide what time we're going back into the adjudication, which I would suggest if it's 15 minutes.
Yeah,
then
1 o'clock.
How did you get to that? I don't know.
1 o'clock, Jason?
we could make that 1 o'clock. That's more like 23 minutes.
So we're going to close out of the open session.
Yes, we are. I'm going to ask for a motion to move into executive session. We're going to
Moved.
close out of this session. We're going to go, once we have that done, and then we're going to go into executive session to take up the issues that I'll suggest, and then we'll come back here and hopefully these audio video things will be resolved. Okay?
So the adjudication, you're suspending it until 1 p.m. when we will come back to this meeting and begin the adjudication again. Got it.
Yes, do I need a motion to do that? Or-
Yes, we
Can I
do.
suggest that we get some time for lunch at some point during this?
I think what we should probably do is when we come back at 1 o'clock, we should ask the attorneys how much longer they think they have relative to the presentation of their cases. And then ask the commissioners how long they have.
Yeah.
I think that's what we need to do. And so
Okay,
the
so can I have
attorneys
a-
can
can I
figure
have a
that out.
motion to suspend the adjudication of Gail Corrigan?
So move.
Is there a
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, Commissioner Bennett,
Aye.
Commissioner Antone,
Aye.
Commissioner Palumbo,
Aye.
Commissioner Murphy,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Okay, now may I have a motion to go into executive session, to wit, a motion to approve the minutes of the executive session held on February 9th, 2021 pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42, 46, 5A, 2, and 4, and to take up in re Brett Smiley, complaint number 2021-1 pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42, 46, 5A, 2, and 4.
So
Is there a
moved.
motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I'll see you in.
Here, I think there's one more thing we need to do. I think we need to state for the record that Commissioner Salk has left the meeting. Is that correct, Mr. Graham?
Yes, I received a message from Dr. Salk that he was called away to his medical practice and he has left the meeting. That means he will not be part of this adjudication going forward, and he will not participate in the decision of the Ethics Commission or participate in the deliberations. We still have a quorum of 5 commission members, and that is a sufficient number to complete the adjudication.
We sign it off?
Yes.
Yes, okay.